Hey guys, Luke here, and today on the Promised Neverland videos we're going to be talking about the two demons that really changed the nature of this series for, in my opinion, the better. I am of course talking about Musica and Songju. But before I get into them, I want to stress that I'm still going to be doing Promised Neverland videos. I'm just not going to be doing one for 2 weeks after today, unless we get more information in the next chapter about a particular character, which is someone I want to go through over today as well, because I want to talk about him and what I think his impact on the series might bring. But before I get into all of that, I just want to make an announcement. Tomorrow, as in Wednesday, or whenever this video comes out, whatever day, tomorrow, yesterday, blah blah blah. But yeah, I am going to be going to a drama group, an amateur dramatics group, and joining them. And the next production that they'll be doing will be the Haunting of Hill House, which was adapted into the film The Haunting, and then it was remade into The Haunting with Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones, that piece of shit that the Nostalgia Critic reviewed. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm going to be going for an audition of of a play based on the book, not that film, and I'm hopefully going to be going for the role of Luke in that. So Luke hopefully will be playing Luke. So yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. That's just one announcement I wanted to get out of the way. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so what to say about these two? Well, they're quite interesting in that they're the first demons that the kids can actually have a conversation with, because as they state when they actually sit down in that cave underground, where they actually sit down and can actually talk to them, they both mention, like, look, we have a religion that forbids us from eating humans, although it's a particular type of human, as we'll get into with Songju. But yeah, they have a religion that forbids them from eating humans, but they can eat other things. They can eat like rabbits, chickens, so they can still get their meat, but they just can't eat human flesh. So with them two, they're like, okay, we're not going to eat you, so you can actually relax. You have nothing to worry about when you're with us, and they can actually have decent conversations with them. They're the first demons that they can actually do that. Although that is something I want to talk about and discuss as well when we get to it. But anyway, the character that I want to talk about first before I get into them two is this guy right here, Andrew. One of the newest characters that have been introduced. He was introduced in the last chapter, and he was introduced as sort of like the henchman to Peter Rattari. This guy, Peter Rattari, who's basically, in my opinion, I used to think it would be Grandma, and I'm still by the fact that Grandma could potentially be this, as well as Demon King, but I'm on the impression that Peter Rattari, because we found out a lot about, I might actually do a video about the Rattari clan next week to kind of like bridge the gap between this and when I get into the reviews of starting from chapter 100, when I start getting back into reviews of the chapters, which I'm looking forward to. I've finally got my groove back together. I know what I'm doing. I know how these videos are going to be coming out. But yeah, anyway, going back to Andrew and Peter, in my opinion, I think Peter is going to be one of the final. He has to be one of the final villains. Like, they've established that. They've said, like, our enemy is the Rattari clan. So that's the clan that William Minerva came from, or James. And I feel like Peter has connections not just in this world but in the human world. So like if the kids ever did escape to the human world, they would be like underground trying to avoid humans. If somebody spots them, they're going to be like, oh my god, those are freaks. Contact the heads of the government, which I feel like Peter might actually be a head of a government facility that's tasked with keeping track on kids that have somehow escaped not just from the demon world but into the human world. I feel like that's going to be a plot point brought on eventually, but which makes the series seem like a bit like a North Korean style, because if you look at North Korea, how that's set up. It's similar to this. Like if somebody tries to escape from North Korea, they are essentially dead. They are essentially dead. They're traitors and everything, and they get shot dead if they're ever brought back to North Korea. Or that's what I've heard. Could be wrong, and I'm not going to get into that here because it's like a bit freaky. But anyway, yeah, Andrew, I feel like he's going to be like the main villain of this arc because he's just like the one that's going out trying to hunt them and trying to get them for Peter. And a lot of people think like, oh, he might actually be a double agent working to undermine Peter. No, I think he is going to be a big badass villain because this image, yeah, it is quite threatening, and he is quite intimidating. I hope he's just as good as Lewis as a villain. And somebody said to me on the Discord, like, oh, you can't really compare Lewis and Andrew because we've just met Andrew and we know a lot about Lewis. But no, what I mean by that is that I want Andrew to be a good villain. I want him to be different from Lewis in a good way. I want him to come into his own, show us what he can do, what he's all about, find out a lot about him. And it was just this striking image, this one, that made me feel like, okay, this guy we need to find out a lot more about this guy, and find out what his whole deal is. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say about Andrew. I hope he turns out to be a good character, and let's get into Songju and Musica. Okay, so talking about Songju and Musica, they first appear when the kids have escaped Gracefield House and are in the Promised Forest, as on the Promised Neverland wiki. That's what this arc is called, where the kids are like roaming through the forest before they actually get to the shelter. It's the Promised Forest arc. That's what it's kind of been fan dubbed as, which I can get behind. It seems like this particular stretch of chapters is different from the Gracefield House and different from when they actually get to the shelter, where they actually meet Hugo. But yeah, they first appear in the Promised Forest arc, and it's right. The demons have found out that they've escaped, and you have this one demon right here who's kind of like the one in charge, the big gruff guy going after them, and you have like this dog-like demon here who's like the beast that's trying to get to them. And sure enough, they eventually find them. They're all running around, and Emma and Ray come up with an idea. Like Ray's gonna try and distract them so that Emma has a chance to escape. But of course, because he's smart, it's tactful, he can actually escape as well. But it all goes to pop. Because Ray doesn't expect the demon to actually kill one of its own kind. Like here, Ray doesn't expect this, and it's like, okay, he has to like really think outside the box now. And sure enough, he reveals himself to the demons. He's like, I am human, I am not going back there. And the demon's like, you've got no choice. And he's running, and he's surrounded, like right here, he's completely surrounded. But then all of a sudden, you have this guy in the cloak, which we know is Songju. We have him riding a horse, which is badass in and of itself, if I do say so myself. A demon riding a horse-like creature, that is badass. And he swoops up and saves Ray, and Ray's like, whoa. It's like, and Songju's trying to reassure him that he is going to be safe. And it's the same thing with Musica. Emma just faints, and all the kids are like, oh my god, Emma's fainting, what are we going to do? And Musica finds them, and she's like, this way, come with me. And they're like really skeptical, but at this point they really have no choice. It's either get eaten by these demons that are actually chasing them, or just go and try and lay low. And if these try to kill them, they can basically outnumber them, basically. So yeah, that's it. And they eventually get into this cave, and Emma is dead out, and she wakes up, and Ray's there with her, and so is Musica, and she's like, so you're awake, you're all right, that's great. And then Emma's like, you're the one that saved me, and Musica's like, yes, I did. And at this point, they're just guiding them through the cave. It's like that. It's like a guide you get like through a cave through various mediums like film, TV, and anime, and manga, and video games. You get them like that one person that's just guiding you through the cave, trying to escort you through this cave to protect you. But Ray has some suspicions on him. So after Ray has his suspicions about them, he's like, okay, it's great, and I'm thankful that you saved us, but tell me, why did you demons save us? And then Emma's like, what? And you see Musica like getting a bit like henty about it, like she has something to hide, which was probably to just add tension. I don't know. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. But anyway, Emma's getting freaked out, and Ray's like, you're demons, aren't you? Those feet are demon feet, aren't they? And then then Emma's trying to get her head around this, and Musica and Sunju are closing in on both of them, but they're having none of it. They're like, okay, we're grateful, but why did you save us? And then Emma's just like, where are the children? Because this was Emma's whole goal up until this point, was to save as many people as she could possibly save, to get them out of the house as quickly as possible. And now she's obviously, like, you can see here the anger, but also the fear that the kids are being killed, and she just rushes off past Ray, past Songju, just to try and past Musica, just to try and find out what has happened to them. And she's like freaking out. She's like, please don't be dead, please don't be dead. But then we get this line right here where Songju goes, demons, how nostalgic we used to be called as, which only adds to my theory that there's more to these creatures that meets the eye, which only adds to the fact that these demons are, I am 100% convinced that these demons are an evolution of the humans. Like, something happened over time, like humanity evolved and grew into these monsters, and they started to eat, and they started to like consume, and they found out like, oh, if we consumed the brains of other humans, we become more intelligent, but also we mutate and we become these ferocious creatures. I get the feeling that there is something like that going on here, because the fact that Songju is the one that goes, we used to be called that, implies that something else has happened long ago. And I don't actually have the volume which actually gives the proper translation of this line, but if it is the proper translation of this line, if it's like, if he does say we used to be called that, I will be bringing that up. And you see Ray here getting like really freaked out by this, which obviously means that he's picking up on this, and it just shows just how it again shows just how intelligent Ray is, just to quickly pick up on these things and figure out that there's more going on in this world than meets the eye. Maybe the Rifari line actually spun the story of the promise, and there is actually spun the story of the promise and actually created the Demon King itself through the genetic manipulation of another human. Like, another human is actually the Demon King that's feeding off other humans' brains in order to sustain this this mutation or something like that. It's kind of scattershot, this theory, and it's not something I wanted to go into in this video, but I may actually have to do a separate video about the Rifari line next week in order to just justify this theory that I've had, because literally I've just come up with this idea off the spot. I will need to sit down and actually think about this and think, does it actually make sense? So as Emma is running through the cave and like praying, like, please be okay, please be okay, please be okay, we see that Don, Gilda, Anna, Nate, Lamia, and all the other kids, like Jemima and that, they're all fine. They're all like just getting ready for dinner and everything, and Musica comes up behind them and she's like, I'm sorry, I apologise that we startled you. And then that's when they take off their cloaks and they reveal, like, I am Musica and this is Songju. This is further evidence of my idea that that the demons in this world are an evolution of the humans, because as we see, like, right here and right here, we see that they are like more humanoid creatures than anything. They resemble demons to an extent, but they like have more humanoid features. Like, they have a voice, they can speak intelligently, they can speak proper English, they can have decent conversations with these people. They have hands, they have feet, they're standing upright. They're not like crawling on all four, as we've seen with the evolution cycle of demons. Like, there's different kinds of demons, and I'll be going into this in a second as well. But yeah, these two are more like humanoid than anything, and that just further adds to my credence that the demons, or whatever they were used to be called, like before they were actually transformed, they are a mutation of the humans to some extent. But I'm sure we'll find out about this possibly at the end of the series. Possibly the final arc will finally get like the big reveal of what these creatures actually are and where they came from, because that is one of the biggest questions that we have to find out before the series ends, like where the demons actually came from. Because if we just end the series without knowing where the demons came from, yes, it just adds to like, oh, it's better that mysteries are not explained so that it makes them more fun. But no, we need to find out about this. In this series, we need to find out what exactly happened to make these creatures come into this world. Okay, so going into Songju and Musica personality-wise, Musica, it's kind of a dynamic we've seen throughout various media. Like we have the quiet, small, more thoughtful, more polite one, and then we have the big the big muscular one that's very stern. But also, Songju is quite polite as well to these to the kids here. More so, like he could just easily just be like, "Apologies about that, guys. There was a phone that just went and I had to go and answer it." But anyway, getting back to what I was saying. So yeah, Songju is quite polite to the kids, and they're both really polite, which again is a nice change of pace that we actually have friendly ally demons, which may come into play later on in the series. I don't know. I've always had this idea of what if these two actually become permanent allies to the kids, and now that we're out of Goldie Pond and we're back in sort of like that area, and they have been referenced. A couple of times now at the beginning of the current arc, which makes me think that they're going to be properly reintroduced to the story, and they're probably going to be potential allies, but then become potential villains later on, and we'll get into that later on. But anyway, yeah. So they're both like, look, we're not going to eat you. Our religion forbids it, and we see them praying to a god, but we don't actually know if it's like the god of the demons or another god entirely, as we'll discover, like as Songju will explain in a bit. There'll be different types of demons and different societal structures of demons, and we'll get into that in a bit. Okay, so now talking about the design of Songju and Musica itself, I actually really like it. I like how they both have the face masks that cover their eyes, and I also like the cloaks that they wear, especially Songju's. I want that cloak that he wears. It is so badass. But also I like how they're different, but you can tell how different they are from like their masks. Their masks are different, their hair is different, and their body structure are different. So yeah, they both have really interesting and unique designs that make them stand out from other characters. And that's what I've loved most about these demons, is that even some that I don't particularly care for, like Luke, I don't particularly care for him. He had an interesting design in the sense that he had the two inverted horns, and it allowed him to stand out. And all these demons have been able to stand out from each other and been able to really have unique appearance, so that we can actually tell who they actually are. But anyway, getting back to the actual history on the two characters. So after they've had the meal, after everything's been resolved and Emma and Ray understand what it's all about, it's late at night, and Ray and Emma actually go and see Songju, because as we see right here, Musica's asleep and Songju's the only one who's standing and watching guard, and he says to the two of them, "Oh, you can't sleep," and they're like, "Oh, can we talk?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't see why not." And so they sit down, and this is where we get like the big exposition. Like at this point in the series had been going on for a year, and this was the exposition about what exactly is going on in the world. These two chapters. This whole mini arc of the Promised Rose was basically an exposition world building arc, which is what we needed. We needed something to actually wind down and get us like up to speed of what is actually going on in the world. A lot of people thought like, oh, it was getting boring. It was not getting boring. We needed this, because if it was just straight up action, people would have complained about that and being like, we're not getting any explanation. Why should we care about these? Why should we care about these characters if all we're just getting is just action shoved in us? We need these slow moments. I'm not saying it was boring. It was slow, but it needed that to actually build and actually grow and actually get the world, get us invested in the world, and find out a lot more, because we're in the same position as the kids. We don't know a lot about what's going on in the world, and we're just assuming, just like how the kids are assuming about what is going on in the world. We don't actually know how the world is actually structured, is actually what is actually going on. Like, especially in Human World, when nearly 100 chapters into the series, we still have not seen what the Human World actually looks like. And I feel like once we I feel like the next big arc after this arc is going to be the Human World arc. But anyway, Songju is like, anyway, Emma is like, I'm sorry we had doubts at you, and Songju's like, no, it's all right. You have a reason to doubt us, because those demons that you saw, the ones that were actually hunting them, like the vicious, ferocious dog-like one, those ones that you saw, and most demons would desire for your flesh, but we're not like that. So we understand why you had doubts about us and why you thought it was unnecessary to trust us. And then that's when we get Emma and Ray asking Songju why he won't eat them, and he says faith. Our faith prevents us from eating human meat, although he leaves out one critical detail which is going to come up later, and it's not the detail that, oh, it doesn't mean that I won't eat owls or chickens or rabbits. It's not that. It's a particular detail that he is leaving out, which he probably knows that if he told them, they wouldn't be on friendly terms. But anyway, so after that he explains, like, look, we're heathens. This is what our society is called, like, obviously the demon society, which only adds more to, like, what the world has been building up and what the demons, or as he puts it, demons in quotations, to show that they are not demons in the traditional sense, like demons in the sense of, like, the Shinigami in Death Note, not like that type of demon. But yeah, their society has heathens, and it has the people that are working on the farm, and he doesn't care about that, and he doesn't want to know about that. And it just shows just how the level of complexity that these demons are getting with the introduction of these two characters. And this is further brought up with the complexity of Lewis as a character, which I've already talked in great detail about Lewis and why he's such a complex and such fascinating character. These characters are the ones that style that complexity, and Peter Rafari is the one that's actually bringing that to the human side, the complexity and the sinister nature of humanity, and it's showing just how grey this world is, how neither it's black and white, because we have human enemies but we also have demon enemies, and it's going to be a case of fighting both systems in order to make the world a better place. So yeah, Songju asks them, what would you like to know? And this is where we get, like, the big exposition of what is going on, like the whole promise that was made, the line being split down the middle, and it's a real eye-opener for Emma and Ray, in the sense that their ancestors actually left them in Demon World. And like I said, it just shows the greatness of this world. I'm not going to go into much detail about the promise, because Tekken made a whole video on that. You can go and check it out. Tekken 101's video on what comes next in the Promised Neverland. Just go and watch that video. He does it better than I could explain, and it addresses every single plot point that I would have addressed in this. But yeah, basically, we'll just split it down the middle. Demons and humans, and the kids have got to get over to the human world, and basically it creates the sense of there's going to be a war at the end of the series to determine the fate of Earth. And also as well, I just want to talk about this image right here of what Emma might be like in 2 years' time. And I just really like how she has the skull face mask like one of the demons, and she has a sword, and she has the really long hair. I just feel like if that image does come into light in the manga, that will be such a badass image. It will be so unreal. But yeah, essentially, humans and demons on either side of the world, and the kids have to fight against both systems. And this is where Emma and Ray get excited, even though Sandra's telling them it's impossible. They don't care. And yeah, I can see that they are gonna get into human world eventually. It may not be for another 50 chapters, 60 chapters. We don't know how long the next arc's gonna be, but I'm pretty sure by the end of the current arc that we're in, I need to think of a name for that arc. We'll call it the Return to Gracefield arc, because that's basically where they're going. They've got to go back to Gracefield, because that's where the entrance to human world is. And I feel like it's going to be a liberation of all the farms to get them into human world, and then go back and fight Demon World. So anyway, after Emma and Ray find out about the whole promise and the whole deal of what's going on in the world from Songju, they go to sleep, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do this, Ray. And Ray agrees with her, and Ray agrees with Emma. But the next day, which it confirms right here, that it's been 3 days since they met Songju and Musica, and they've been underground. we see that Emma has got to quite adapt at using the bow and arrow, and it just shows her quick ability to adapt to a situation and be quick on her feet. And then Songju says to Musica, "I'm going out and scouting," and then that's when Emma gets an idea, and she's like, "Songju, can I come with you? And I won't get in the way of anything." And Songju agrees under the terms that she stays with him. And so we see here Emma and Songju going outside, which just shows just how much trust that these characters have built up over a small period of time. And it's great to see like these interactions of the different species. Like not every single. It's the same with humans and animals. Like it's the same relation that humans have with animals. Like, yes, there are going to be humans that are going to eat certain animals and going to eat certain creatures of meat, but there are also going to be humans and animals that are bond and make close bonds, like cats and dogs and humans, unless you live in China. But yeah, and it just shows again the greyness and the complexity of this world, and how it's not just all like demons are evil, humans are good. It's like you get different layers, and I really find this really fascinating about the series, and this is why I found it to be one of my favourite to be my favourite manga at the moment. There might be another manga that will surpass it, but no, it's just these interactions, these small interactions, but very significant interactions, and it just shows just how the level of power and influence Emma can have over everyone, and just shows how much trust she can actually put in other people. But I feel like with Songju, that's going to be broken at some point. They may be allies right now, but I feel like at some point they are gonna that trust is gonna be challenged, and she's gonna have a real sense of like somebody that she thought she could trust that's actually betrayed her in a way that she didn't want to. But for now, they are allies, and Songju does take her out, and he asks her. I don't think he asks her. No, I don't think he asks her. I think Emma explains why she wanted to come out with him, and it's like, I want you to teach me how to take a life, because at this point Emma has not taken a life, and she's very reserved about taking a life, but she understands that it's a necessity. Like, she needs to understand how to take a life and how to hunt and how to survive, which just shows her strong survival instincts. Even though it's clear that she doesn't want to do this, she knows it has to be the way in order for her and every other human that's in the situation to survive and get out of this situation. So she has to kill in order to bring a better world for everyone, which just shows just how complex she is as a character, and how she's not just a bland one-dimensional protagonist, and why she is my favorite protagonist, in the sense that she has different layers to her. It's not one extreme or another extreme. She has varying layers of extreme, and this one that she's willing to actually kill in order to survive just actually proves it. And sure enough, Songju does teach her. He teaches her how to use her bow more efficiently, which comes into play when she actually has to get the gun to fire at Lewis in order to bring his downfall, and also when she's in the forest with Ray and Hugo going to Goldie Pond, and she just effortlessly shoots down a demon and kills it. And it just shows just how just her quick study and fast learner aspects of the character as well, in the sense that she may not be as intelligent as Ray and Norman, but she's able to quickly pick up on things and learn very fast. And after she kills this owl creature, you see Songju saying to her, "Right, it's time for the Goompa." And I thought Goompa at the beginning, I thought that meant that demon, this one right here. I thought his name was Goompa, but no, it turns out it's the process that you take the flower and you just stab the heart of the creature, and according to Songju, it's painless. They won't feel a thing. But you can see that Emma's very shy and reserved about it, and she's thinking about back on all the times that all her friends have actually been through this process of being like plucked with this flower, and it's just like really destroying to her, and she's like, I can't, and you can see on her face right here, she's probably thinking, I can't believe I'm about to do what a creature did to my friends. I can't believe that I'm gonna do this. Maybe I'm not as morally correct as these creatures. It just shows a level of complexity from Emma, and she thinks back on Norman, because at this point she thinks Norman is dead, and it just shows the level of deep distraught that it's going through, and even to the point where Sunju cares enough about Emma's feelings to be like, "Are you okay? Do you want to stop?" And she's like, "No, thank you, Sunju. I needed this to happen." Oh, and something else I forgot to mention, guys, is that as Emma and Ray are explaining what the promise is to the other kids and what the contract is between the humans and the demons, we see Musica being like, "Oh, those kids are great, aren't they? But why didn't you tell them about such and such, namely the Demon King?" I really want to find out what that name actually is, what that name actually means in English. Because we still don't know, even after nearly 100 shots, we still don't know what that actually means. And you see Sonju being to Musica's like, "What are you talking about?" And Musica's saying like, "Look, if they break the promise, they're going to be enemies of the Demon King. I'm just going to call him the Demon King." And Sonju's like, "Well, there's no point, because since escaping from Grace, they've already established themselves as an enemy of the Demon King themselves," which just goes back to my idea of, even if they do meet the Demon King in the upcoming chapters, because that's one of the steps of the plan, is that they've got to meet the Demon King to make the promise. It's not going to go well. He's going to be like, "You're my enemies, you're going to die," and there's actually going to be some deaths, and I'm really hesitant to say who's going to die. I don't want anybody to die, but at the same time I feel like there's going to be some sacrifices. Okay, so we pick up after Emma and Sonju have gone out and done the hunt, and she's learned how to be a proper hunter, which comes into play later on in the Goldie Pond arc. They're like, "Okay, we're nearing the exits," which means that 5 days are up, and their time with Sonju and Musica is coming to end. But you see, like, the kids here, you see them like, "I don't want to leave you guys," and it just shows just how attached they've become to these two that have basically saved their lives and made their journey through the forest that much more smoother. And you see Gilda right here being a bit unsure about some of the stories that Sonju has said. So obviously Emma goes and asks Sonju about the other farms. It's like, "Look, you must know about the other farms. What's going on in there? Like, what's happening with the other kids in there?" And Sonju's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the farms are like only related in name only, and it seems like there could be just kids being produced as just factory farmed livestock that have no conscience, have no well-being, just being produced just to sustain substance for the demons," which just shocks everyone. And you see like the various images of just everyone being shocked by that, and you see Musica being unsettled by it as well. So anyway, later that day in the evening, where everybody's just relaxing and getting ready for the next day, when it's obvious that they'll be leaving Sonju and Musica, you see Musica and Emma, and this is where we get like a very heartfelt interaction between these two, because Emma is just as grateful for being saved as any of the other kids, and she says to Musica, "Look, I cannot consider you a demon. You're not like them. You're not a demon in my eyes," which just again just adds to the complexity of the world. And like I've established, how humans view certain animals as different from others, from other animals. Like, for example, I cannot view my cats as food, but I can view other animals as food, and maybe that makes me a vicious animal, and I'll admit it, I am a vicious animal then. I'll admit it. I don't care, but it doesn't mean I don't have a good heart, because I do have a good heart. I have a good heart to protect. Like, if I saw a chicken being beaten up, I'd be like, "Well, don't be doing that." But at the same time, if I see a chicken like on the shelf at a shop, I'm gonna eat it, because I have not seen that chicken being tormented and butchered. So I'm not gonna feel the same way. I'm gonna feel for another chicken. It's the same thing with humans, with humans as well. Like, if you've not seen a human being beaten up, you're not going to have an emotional attachment to someone who is being beaten up. It's the same. It's the same principle, and it's the same thing here. Like, Emma's not viewing Musica as a raging beast that's going to eat her. She views her as a friend, and Musica feels the same way. And she's like, it's the first time I've ever been able to talk to a human and interact with a human in the 1,000 years, and our kind is in disarray essentially. And she is thinking that. I think she's thinking that. I don't think she actually says it to Emma. I think she's thinking that, which just adds more possibilities that these demons used to be demons. It might not be that they were a mutation or an evolution of humans. Like, they did truly used to be humans, but over time they've slowly deteriorated. So like their kind is becoming extinct at this point. But yeah, Emma just shows pictures of all the other kids and Norman, and Musica's getting really really emotional about it, and of course they say, I'm happy we could be friends, and Emma feels the same way, just showing just how complex that relationship has become, and how it's probably going to play a part in upcoming arcs. So after Emma and Musica's little discussion about the families and the friends, we get them just going out. We get this full-page spread of them being out. They're out of the forest. Songju and Musica have led them to safety, and Songju tells them, just head in this direction and you'll be at your destination, which of course is the underground shelter where they meet Yugo. But of course they don't know about that yet, but he says keep going and you'll be able to find it eventually. And they're all saying thank you, goodbye, and you see them all getting emotional. And Emma and Musica have a little heart-to-heart moment where Musica whispers in Emma's ear, like, this is a good luck charm for you in the future. Find the 7 walls. You see it right here. Find the 7 walls and head towards your future, which has come into play in the recent chapters, where it's like, okay, we've got to find the 7 walls and we've got to meet the Demon King. Which that's not going to play out, Emma. I love you, Emma, but seriously, that is not going to play out in the way you think it's going to play out. I guarantee that. So after they say goodbye, Songju, this is where we get like a revelation about Songju's character, which I was like, oh my god, because I really liked him, and now he's just gone to this, and it's like, no, please no. You see him going, you've grown quite attached to them, Musica, and Musica says to Songju, oh, you were so indifferent about them at first. Okay, guys, I know I'm putting this in like an awkward position, but yeah, remember when I just said that it was actually Musica that said to Songju, you were so indifferent? That is still true, but as we see right here, it was actually Songju that said, oh, you're so indifferent, because we see here in the actual flashback that Musica was observing them, and it was like, oh, these are the kids that escaped from the plantation that we were told about. If we take them back, we'll live our lives in peace for 6 months. And then you see Songju just disagreeing with that idea, and that's when we get the revelation that he wants them to break the promise and let him hunt human meat. Before I thought it was the other way round, but no, it was actually Songju that said to Musica, you were so indifferent at first after you've grown quite attached to them, and you see Musica feeling regret about actually having those thoughts as well, which just shows again just the complexity of the world, and it just shows how much Musica's views about the humans changed just from these 6 days. Now she doesn't feel like she doesn't want to do this anymore, although I feel like that may come into play. She may actually sell them out at some point. I don't know at this point how humble she's actually being. But yeah, anyway, getting back to the video right now and getting back to my discussion as I was going along in 3, 2, 1. And we see a flashback where we see Songju saying, oh, kids have escaped from the plantations, I'm going to go, I don't want them back. And you see the real and you see the real reason why he didn't want them to be sent back to the plants, because he believes, Songju actually believes that that these kids can break the promise, because this is where we get it from him. It's like their religion prevents them from eating humans that have been that haven't been naturally bred, so like haven't been born in the farms. So like humans that are born in the farms, their religion prevents them from eating them, but it doesn't prevent humans that are in the human world from being eaten. And that's where Songju's motivation led. It's that he wants them to break the promise. So as you see right here, this creepy image of him right here, that he can't wait to stuff himself with human flesh again. And I feel like that's going to play a major role in the upcoming arcs, because he says to Musica, "Oh, you," because I think Musica doesn't have a desire to eat humans. I think she's perfectly content where she is at the moment. But Songju, he really wants to eat human meats again, but the religion and him being in demon world actually prevents this. And I feel like he's gonna be an ally for now. But once they get into human world, I feel like that alliance is going to be disassembled for him in particular, and he's going to start eating human flesh, and Emma's going to have a big wide wake up call. I feel Musica's going to be on the side of Emma, in the sense that she's grown so attached to these humans that she doesn't want to eat humans again. I feel like Musica's going to be a key in the demons actually going down. I feel like Musica's going to be a key player in this. Songju as well, but I feel like Musica more so, because I feel like her moral compass is in the right place, as opposed to Songju's, who was more for like selfish reasons in a sense. And it got me a bit thinking like maybe Songju isn't all it seems, where we saw this image right here of him just smiling in the caves, and it was further emphasis when we had this image. Okay, that's a little bit creepy. Can we get it off screen? Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, that's the reason why Songju wanted to help the humans, not necessarily because he wanted to help them initially, but in the sense that he feels that they can break the promise and he can start hunting naturally wild humans again. Where again, like I said, it just adds to the complexity, but I feel like Songju is going to have a change of heart at some point, and he's going to see like, okay, maybe it isn't all right to eat humans, and he goes off with Musica somewhere, and they live in one area of the world. Or I feel like it's going to come to a compromise where Emma says to Songju, "Look, we won't come and disturb you, but if we do, you can kill us," basically. So it's sort of like a predator go into it. It's like, oh, there's my prey, I'm going to kill it. But basically sort of like that, like they'll come to a compromise at the end of the series, because I feel like these two are going to survive till the end of the series. And it's for and sure enough, after they've said all of this, after they've established where the motivations lie, Songju goes off and he goes to fight that demon that was actually chasing Ray in order to bring him back to the farm. And we see this image right here, demon versus demon, but then we don't actually see that fight. And that would have been an awesome fight. I would have loved to have seen that fight, like how that went down. Maybe in a flashback when we get reintroduced to Songju and Musica, because as we see from this image right here, we see them just scouring around, going around the forest, and like, what's the matter? Nothing. And then Emma's thinking about Musica at that point, because this is after the whole Goldie Pond arc, after Goldie Pond's destroyed, and we get them reintroduced to the story, and they've been hinted at a few times during the story, like they've been sprinkled throughout these various chapters that we've had leading into the new arc. And I feel like they are going to play a role. They are going to be allies to get them into human world. I feel like Songju's going to play the role that I wanted Lewis to play. Like, I wanted Lewis to actually help the humans get into human world and actually break the promise. I feel like that's going to be Songju's role. I feel like he's going to be the one to take Lewis's role and be like, I will help you get into human world. And I feel like he will actually want to fight Emma at some point. He wants to prove Emma's strength and prove just how capable she can be to break this promise. I feel like he'll want to fight. He'll want to fight them, but I don't feel they'll kill him. and I feel like he will help them get into human world. But once that promise is broken, I feel like it's anybody for himself in his eyes. I do like his character. I like how his character was set up and he was built up, and I like Musica's character, how she's a soft, humbled one, and how she could be a catalyst to actually ending this whole situation that they're in, because I feel like their time is running out and they need to end this as soon as possible. But anyway, guys, what do you think about Musica and Sunju? I know this video might not be as long as Lewis's. It might be actually the same length, because I've been splitting it up. I've been splitting it up. I've been taking breaks between each take and each section I've been talking about. So combining it all together, it might be as long as Lewis's as the last video I did. Which, if that's the case, I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with the way these videos are turning out and how I'm able to get my thoughts across. And eventually I will be getting back into talking about chapters. We're nearly there. I'm going to be talking about chapter 100 when it comes out, and I will have my laptop right here as well to talk about it, because I don't have my laptop right here. I'm just going off what I can remember about the series and about these two characters, which is a lot because I did a lot of research leading into this video. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.